I all
Yes,
good?
all good. My filter to cover my tired face is working, so everything
You
is
look
good.
gorgeous.
Aw, thanks. I mean, I was just saying in the stories about the fact that we totally switched spots, and
Yeah.
you being in the sunnier location while I'm in the snow. I
I'm
think you
sorry.
win. You win. There you go. I just timed it a little off, but Florida's Florida. So nice to have that sun, especially for us
Yeah, I need
winter.
it.
I like the I like having the kind of winter, summer, and having both. What
Both.
about
You
you?
appreciate it. Yeah, you
Good.
I feel like you actually
Yes.
appreciate it more. I have friends who have moved to LA that complain about how cold it is, and I'm
Yes.
like, no, you've
You
changed. You've
changed.
changed.
You've left us. Yeah. This is exactly what I like. Let's just get right into it. I'm so excited to talk to you about this. I'm with Brown Girl Angels and the conversations I've been having with founders of South Asian background, especially female founders. The intention for me really is to just shine a light, in our own backyard. Not, I know big sister US is next door, but it's so amazing that the types
Mhm.
of industries and verticals that South Asian female founders are playing in. It's been a lot of different verticals. I have to say, influencer marketing, this is the first one. So excited to ask you because my old Gen X self grew up not having social
Yeah,
media. So this is a very new vertical. So let's start from, uh, kind of how this came into your
yeah,
world and what was the journey to you starting this.
absolutely. So I went to school for
Okay.
journalism, and my dream was to be like the digital editor of Vogue or something like that. So I was always interested in like digital social media. I mean, I didn't have Facebook until like the end of or
Right.
university. I didn't really have it in school. And I apologize if you hear people around me. I'm in the business center in a hotel, so
Or
many,
I guess
many people are chit-chatting.
the
So my
gorgeous
apologies.
hotel in Miami. So, I mean, all right, forgive you.
But so I started my career as a journalist. I got a job as an editor in chief when I was 26,
Okay.
and I started to really take an interest in the advertising
Mhm.
side of magazines. And I started to ask the sales team when they were going out to pitch clients if I could come along because I found just as an editor, I really liked branded content more than just an advertisement. I felt like when we were able to, build a story around a piece, like a product or a service or something, it was a better way to sort of help our clients like get their message across than just like throwing an advertising or like a banner ad up
Right.
on a website. I just didn't feel like it converted.
Yeah.
So I asked the sales team if I could come along, and I started to build really amazing relationships with clients. And over, I think I was in that position for about five,
Yeah.
6 years. In those 5, 6 years, I just really heard what they needed and things that were sort of coming up in the industry at that
Yeah.
time. So this was like, I would say 2011 to like, 2010 to 2016. And so at that time, it was like still
Right.
bloggers, not so much influencers. No one knew what that word was yet.
Right.
It was starting in the US, but not so much here.
Mhm.
But every year from like 2010 to 2016, the budgets for like YouTubers and
Right.
bloggers would go up, go up, go up.
Right.
And for us in the digital magazine space, that those advertising
You
dollars
being
would
the core,
slowly go
right?
away, go away, go away. So as someone who like who's just starting my career, I'm like, wait, how long do I have here before I'm no longer
And
relevant?
what's happening over there
So,
where the budgets
and
are
what's
going?
happening over there?
Yeah.
So the great thing and kind of how the stars aligned for me is I started to build really great relationships with creators where I would hire them to sort of co-create content packages together with the magazine. And so I was hiring creators, I was working with the brands, and I was the person in the middle. And a few people started joking. It's like, oh, you should start an influencer agency, or you should be a manager. Like you bring us so many
So did that
opportunities.
concept of influencer agency, when this was happening, was that already established? You were saying in the
So
US.
in the US,
Okay.
it was very much a thing.
Okay.
I was, I knew people who were doing that already, but not so much in Canada. There were a few, some were like PR agencies that had like an
Yeah.
influencer
Right.
wing or like a modeling agency that like decided to sign influencers as well.
Right.
But there wasn't a lot of like dedicated influencer talent
Right.
agencies. That was really just a thing in the US at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're talking 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So I, like, after hearing that kind of over and over, and clients being really happy with how I kind of manage their campaigns, and creators being really happy with the ideas for the content that I sort of, and the brands that I brought them.
That you were at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So people were really liking what I was doing,
Yeah.
and I was like, I need to just do this because I was kind of doing it in my own way, but I was working for somebody else. So I'm like, why would I just do this myself? So that's really where the idea came from.
Can we pause at that juncture, because this is something that so many founders are, I'm an almost founder, like, you know, I have the idea, I see a trend in the marketplace. The jump to, I'm going to go out and start my own thing when I'm already at a job that I have, you know, talk about that. What came up for you in that process? And, you know, is entrepreneurship something that ran in your family, where it was like, yeah, I talked to one of the founders, she was like, oh no, entrepreneurship's in my family. Like, I wasn't even a thing. What was it for you?
It's a little bit of both. So everyone in my family is an entrepreneur. So I grew up at a dinner table with, I'm the youngest.
Yeah.
My brother's 9 years older. My other brother's 5 years older. They are both entrepreneurs. My dad was an entrepreneur. So it was a very normal thing.
Right.
I don't think anyone really expected it of me, because I wanted to be a journalist, which is typically working for a newspaper or a magazine. It wasn't something that I expressed I wanted to do. I kind of had that in me already.
Right.
But kind of when I'm mentoring other people and I'm giving them advice, obviously having a steady, secure, good job, which I had, is something not to take for granted.
Yeah.
If you're going to step out on your own, there are a few things that you need to make sure that you have in place. A solid business plan, interest, like actual interest in what you're about to create. I already knew that I'd have clients. I already spoke to 12 influencers and made sure I had a team that I could, you know, sign on. Like I said, I won't quit my job until I can sign 8 people. Like, if I can sign 8 people, then I know I can quit my job.
The revenue model, was that something that required, like, what was your process in? Because a lot of times it's, okay, I'm going to do it. Wait, how do I know how much to charge? How do I know how much to charge?
Well, luckily I knew how much to charge because I was already in the space, right? I was already pitching creators to brands through the magazine, right? So I knew how much, again, and the funny thing is, a lot of creators don't realize how much money advertisers have to spend and how much they drop on that, like, 1-page magazine ad. So I knew that there was money ready to be spent, and I knew how much they had. And obviously, being, you know, a journalist, I'm a content creator in my own right, so I understood that side of it. So I had a good understanding of both sides. And the sort of the business model that I wanted to create was something that, you know, a lot of the agencies that were coming up were very, like, client focused. So just like, what did the brands need? And the influencers were sort of a commodity. It didn't really matter how their quality or whatever, you know, their stats were or whatever. It was just like, let's hire influencers. Whereas I wanted to create, like, this premium, amazing roster of talent that is so good. And that was so, like, sexy, and, like, their content was amazing. So that's
themselves.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to have, like, just this really premium boutique agency where you come and get the best influencers. That was, like, my vision for it, especially because I wanted to get right off the bat those really, really good clients.
Would you say, I mean, you really set it up in a way that I hear a lot of successful founders make that leap from corporate to entrepreneurship, which is have your first client signed, have that conversation with this person that you know that's either from your former job or someone who wants to take this journey with you. Would you say that's one of the things you'd recommend, like, have that first client before you make the jump? I mean,
for me, I had to. Yeah, like, I don't have parents who, like, gave me the money to do this, or, like, I was completely I think I saved, like, it's like maybe $6,000, like, as that was all I had. And so I had my laptop and my brain, and, like, that's it. I had rent due every month. And so that was really, it was scary. I literally said, okay, worst case scenario, I'll move in with my parents. Like, that's as much as they were going to do for me. But I didn't have a loan from the bank, because banks don't give you money unless you're already rich. So I didn't have a loan from the bank because I didn't have any.
Banks are our financial institutions can be a little slower to understanding newer business models,
Oh my
you know?
gosh, like
But
it was now they're like, "Hey, you want to
yeah,
have lunch?" But before they like would not even give me a look. So,
was that
I basically
discouraging?
had,
Was that discouraging?
oh yeah, it was really, really difficult in the beginning. I got really frustrated and
Mm-hmm.
just mad at how sort of the world functions. Where
Mm-hmm.
I was in one meeting with a banker and I said, like, brands pay you in 90 days, but like I need to get this going now. Like, I was lucky enough to have an apartment, so I had an asset. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
look, I have like an apartment. Like, I I make okay money, and is there anything you can do for me? And he said, well, no, it's got to look like you already have money. So like, can you just get your parents to like wire you $50,000, and just if you have it in your account, then like it'll make a good
Oh,
impression on the
sign.
people who are gonna. And I'm like, my parents just send me
Yeah,
$50,000.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
don't, that's not a
That's
thing.
not a thing.
So I remember
And it's
just
frankly
standing up
belittling.
and just being like, so basically, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you already have to be
Right.
rich. That's the only way you can enter into this sort of, I just don't
Which
know how you
you,
can do it.
which by this very conversation, you defied that logic because that's
So
not
I
true.
just basically was so nimble
Yeah.
and was so careful and took as few risks in the beginning. So I had like no overhead. It was just like I would pay myself if I had
Right.
enough, and I would, would just, live off whatever savings I had. But
And
luckily, like there were a lot of people who had known my work and
right.
all the things that I'd done prior in my career,
Right.
that I had a lot of people who trusted me. So like right off the bat, I got a contract. We got a contract from
Right.
Jergens. We got a contract from Burt's Bees. So those are
Big,
some of
big
my
brain.
first clients who trusted me like right out of the gates. And if it wasn't for like those two big ones, I think
Mm-hmm.
I think Jergens was like the first big check I got. I
Shout
don't
out to
think
Jurgens for
yeah,
supporting,
platform
supporting
wouldn't
startup.
exist.
Yeah, like that. That's a story to tell.
Hmm.
There's something you touched upon, which as coming from the angel investor hat of learning, still so much to learn in the angel investing space. But you touched upon this thing about the leanness of when you're in startup mode, when you're in build mode, that for those writing checks for businesses, part of it is, did you just go buy yourself a glossy office when it's not needed? Or do you know how to be nimble, actually, funnily enough, with the current climate, for years like what's coming up right now? Do you know how to be nimble
Yeah.
and still operate a business from the investor side is so
Mhm.
important. And when you were talking about that, I think that's something to really emphasize, right? Like
Yeah.
the fact that it was like, okay, I don't have a loan. There's still a way I'm being flexible and finding out
Mhm.
how to run this business with what I got and still
Yeah.
growing it. Like
The only thing
kudos
you
to
should
that.
invest in, honestly, well, okay, it depends on the business,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, right? If you have a product, you have to
Yeah.
invest in that.
Yeah.
But for me, the only thing I really truly invest in are like my people, like my staff. And so if I have anything, it's going to go to them. Like we're not going to do, we try our parties are like as, what can we get for free? Like
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
we're
It's
trying to
nimble,
make just,
nimble, 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 and
try
lean.
not to be silly with money. And I'm so transparent too with my team. I'm like, this is where we
Yeah.
need to be so that we're safe. So that if there is a recession, if there is a lockdown, if there is like crazy things that we went through, we have that safety that we can kind of push through. So I think having that sort of transparency with my team too has been great, because then they understand the vision, they understand the goal.
Yeah.
My team, oh, I see
Yes.
someone asked how big
How
is
big
my
is your team?
team? We're 12 people.
I mean, it's like you
Mhm.
had the questions that you knew I was going to jump into, and you created the segue for me. Let's get
Mhm.
into what are a lot of the behind closed doors in DMs and in WhatsApp thread conversations between founders. And the thing that a
Mhm.
lot of us have been saying lately is, damn, we're just tired.
Yeah.
It's like we're tired. Like, it's that part needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
And especially when I think about businesses, well, which is businesses that are growing, mid-size, management of team, management of financials,
Mhm.
and the health of the company, management in your business of creatives who are your clients, and then also their clients. So you're kind of,
Mhm.
you're on a double-sided
There's a
market.
lot of people
So
that I need to speak
how,
to in a
like,
day.
how do you, like how, yeah, what is
It's
your kind
exhausting.
of, hey,
Yeah, I think
I
I
was gonna say
laugh.
coping. That just sounds not, I don't mean to say coping, but some days maybe.
I
But like, yeah, what are your
Yeah,
ways to deal with that?
I do giggle a little when people are like, I'm venturing out on my own, so I have more flexibility and time for my family. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to
Oh boy.
explain to you that that is the opposite of
Yeah,
what you'll have.
yeah,
And I really like genuinely put my dating life on hold for 6 years just to
yeah,
get this company off the ground. But it's really it's a time suck. And the thing that nobody tells you is that managing people, like, and I'm not saying managing our influencers, but just the team, the staff, is so much more time and work than you just think, oh, you hire people and they do their job and then blah, blah, blah. Like there's so much that goes
so
into that
much.
that
Because
people
these are
I don't think they
humans
realize
with their
with needs.
personality, needs,
Yeah.
problems, life.
And
Yes.
they're like your family. Like well, for us,
Right.
we're very close. I have a great
Right.
team. But I care about them and what they have going on, and I want to make sure they're okay and they like their job and all of that. Like that matters to me. If it didn't, then I would just be like, oh well, you're fine. So I
Yeah.
think that every single female founder or founder that I speak to is like, wow, nobody warned me
Yeah.
about this. Or like, I have a lot of friends that are in the fitness
Hmm.
space, and they have gyms, and like the turnover
Yes.
of trainers and having to keep hiring, and then this person isn't available, and they're running around just trying to like fill spots, and they're like, I didn't realize this was going to be my whole life,
Right. And
and
a
not
big
actually running a
chunk of
gym.
your day. So, I mean,
Mhm.
I'm sure all the founders you speak to, and like I said, all of the VM conversations, all of the threads that are on the side of things, like we're past the Insta quote of self-care Sunday, because sometimes self-care Sunday is not enough. It's how
Or it's
often
laundry
do you
Sunday.
go back to your why when things are turbulent?
Oh, all the time. And you know what's wonderful? Like, I love seeing, so we represent over 60 creators,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them we signed when they had 10,000 followers, and now they're like nearing 1 million followers.
What
And
amazing
it's
thing.
the messages from them when they're like, oh, you pay, like these campaigns paid for my wedding,
Right.
or I was able to buy my own house, or like things that when you see them reach this like goal of theirs, or they're crying because they're working with their dream campaign or going on their like when I see people like getting everything they ever dreamt of, that fills me. And I
And that
also
keeps you
love
going.
seeing, yeah, and then my team, when I see them like feel empowered, they're like, I just closed
Yeah.
a 6-figure deal, and they're like,
Yeah.
woo, and they feel like they have that BDE,
Yeah.
that BDE energy.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, I just love it. So I get so much joy actually seeing everybody else kind of thrive. And then
Yeah.
it goes, I'm like, oh shit, I'm doing something good, because you think you're employing, 12 people plus the 60 influencers, you're employing them as
Yeah.
well. So it's like these people are making a living because of something that came up in my head. Like that to me, just like there's no problems. Like everything is good. We're good. We're not
You
saving
know,
lives. It's influencer marketing.
like to dive even deeper into that. And I mean, I was going to ask all these other questions, but this is just such a pertinent topic right
Mm-hmm.
now. With again coming off the pandemic, the current climate. I mean, we're seeing the big blue chip companies with the layoffs and this and that. There's lots of founders who are like, "Hey, when things are going well, it is those wins.
Mm-hmm.
You literally ride the waves of wins, and then the losses are
Yeah.
just quick dips you jump back up from."
Yeah.
There are going to be companies. I pray for none of my founders
Mm-hmm.
that I speak to and my
Oh,
friends.
absolutely.
There are going
Yeah.
to be companies where then the valleys become a lot more frequent,
Mm-hmm.
that you're literally trying to grab for the wins that are a lot less frequent.
Yeah.
And there are founders who I'm talking to where that is the reality now. It's like, oh, the video I had or on my desktop, or the picture of a moment that there was a win, I'm not able to hold on to that enough, because a lot of the challenges are coming at me, whether it's turnover, like it's not even a question to say like what's the answer, because I think this
Mm-hmm.
is all something we deal with as we go along. But is that
Mm-hmm.
part of the conversations that you're hearing in your founder community as well?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I had friends during the pandemic that were in the restaurant, and obviously I was mentioned the fitness
Yeah.
industry, and like having to watch them decide when it's time to quit, was the hardest
Yeah.
thing to see, because when you're a founder, an entrepreneur, you're like an eternal optimist. You just like, you press forward, you press forward.
Yeah.
But when you're pressing forward so hard that it's taking a toll, that the toll is like way outweighs any benefit that will be, then you need to know when it's time.
Yeah.
Right? You know, you tried it, you put your best into it, you were successful.
Yeah.
But it might just mean that this business at this time is not the one.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's like, it breaks you, right? And we were, you know, I just thank my lucky stars that I am in a field that's like, in a business that is thriving.
Thriving.
So, and what sort of we're talking about now in the influencer marketing space is, yes, our industry is growing and thriving, but now everyone is entering it.
Right.
So where I was the, you know, the big fish, you know, everyone knew me. It's like, there's going to be 40, 50 new me coming into the scene now.
Maintaining relevance, relationships, all of that.
So I have, you know, a little bit of a head start, but there might be people coming with big money, big companies, you know. So really my focus is now like, how can I continue to deliver at a level that makes our clients go, no, we're staying with platform, or it's the best when it's with platform. Like, you know, that's really important to me. So it's like maintaining that quality, so that, and maintaining that like trust and relationships, like everything obviously is relationships, so that we can stay in our position and not get knocked out when these, you know, so many people are coming into our space and grow.
The other side, the other boom you must be seeing, and I don't know how I wouldn't ask this question given what you do, is the number of influencers that want to be repped by platform.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. So Megan on our team handles our applications, and I asked her since Christmas, I'm like, how much? She's like, we have hundreds. So we have 60 people that we represent right now, and we have hundreds of applications of people wanting to join the roster. And that's mainly why we actually created a course this year. So we had a course in the early days, but we created it was like an in-person thing. And now we've created like an on-demand virtual course to teach influencers how to represent themselves, because there's just absolutely no way I can serve every single person that's coming in. Because they might not have like the minimum requirements that we have. They may not be located where we need them to be located. We have like specific things that our clients are looking for. And if someone isn't in those things, we might not sign them, or we might have like 3 other people that are exactly like that, and we don't want 100 of the same thing. Diversity and like of choice is really important to us.
Right.
So we created a course to sort of serve that need of like people needing to have the information, because people want to be represented so that they know how to like not get taken advantage of, right? They want to make sure that they're pricing themselves right, that someone who knows how to read a contract is reading their contracts, that they're getting in front of the right clients, that they're able to like, you know, to sort of navigate it. Because when you're doing this alone, you don't really like, there's no school, like there's no way to know. And a lot of people gatekeep.
Yeah, there's a bit of a, I mean, I wouldn't say now anymore, but there was a time that there was a bit of a wild west to this this whole thing. And it's like, hey, you know, what can I ask? What's the percentage? What is the rate? Yes, so much so. There are some questions of, you know, specific to being on your influencer roster. Why don't we look at maybe a caption, a post, a share that I can maybe work on with you to have that information somewhere for people who are interested. You talked about diversity of choice and the word diversity. I have to kind of go off on that, sorry, and ask you about being biracial.
Okay.
And can you share, well, South Asian is.
I am biracial.
Can you share what the other
so my dad
is part of, and what was it like growing up?
Absolutely. So my dad is Indian, Punjabi, and my mom is Italian from the north of Italy. And so sort of that experience of being biracial, you sort of never feel like you fit in anywhere, because if I hang out with, you know, brown girls, they're like, oh, you're not really brown, you're not really, like, it's always like that joke. And then if I hang out with Italians, they're like, oh, like your hair's so dark, you're so tan, like that's like coveted for them. So it's very like, you're almost it's very exotic to them, and so there's always like your differences are consistently being pointed out. then obviously, like with any person of color, you have the privilege of like being white passing. So like there are certain things that, I can't relate, obviously, or things that maybe I haven't gone through. So you're always trying to navigate and like be okay for everybody. And you sort of, I think, like in my experience, it really learned, what I learned is to basically be sort of a people pleaser and like making sure everyone's
That's
comfortable
how
with my
that
existence.
translates.
And I'm not like, so I feel like that's sort of like how that has happened, but you constantly have an identity crisis because I always say like I'm 100% both. I my Indian grandparents lived with us, so my grandmother raised
Yeah.
me, so I just felt like I felt super Indian.
Yeah.
But then we would, as soon as summer, like from June to August, we would go to Italy every year. So then I would speak Italian and be with my Italian grandparents. So I
Beautiful
had,
upbringing.
yeah, like a very, and my
You
parents
know,
were
a lot of
so great where they, neither of them like bended for the other. They were both 100%
right.
themselves. Like the food, we had
I
all the
was
food, we had all the things.
I mean, I don't know how, because there's no way you have not heard this your entire life. Of, but you get the best of both foods. Yeah.
Oh,
How would I not
literally
say
the
that?
best food. Like it like I can't
Yeah.
complain. I feel extremely blessed to have sort of the upbringing that I did. I just felt like I honestly felt like it was a superpower.
Yeah.
I didn't let myself feel like outcasted by it. I felt like it was a superpower, to have like so much knowledge, to know like to go to a temple and then a church in the same week and know that like not one thing is like the religion, know that there are more people out there. I think it made
Right.
us, like me and my brother, super tolerant. It just like, I don't know, it opened our eyes more to like, there's not just one thing. Um, and so, yeah, I loved it. I can't complain. But there are times where I just don't feel like I belong anywhere. And so I'm like really, really, yeah, glove jamuns and gelato.
Yeah.
That's
I
my
saw
two
that.
favorite things.
Yes.
Literally put them in, like put them together, and that's the best dessert you'll ever have.
Oh my God.
But I am very flattered that you included me in this
Oh,
because sometimes I'm really, I'm always like on the sidelines of like the brown community because I never want to I never want to like put myself in the middle because I always feel like I'm maybe not the right person to represent the group. And
what a
so when I'm
beautiful
asked to be
perspective.
involved, I'm like the first person there, but I'm always waiting for the invitation rather than like putting myself in the middle. So I appreciate that you asked me to be a part of this. It's like super flattering for me that I'm included
Oh,
and it makes me feel really happy. And
yeah.
I think
That's wow.
there's just been so much love and my friends who have DD
Yep.
and the different, I've been to one of your events,
Yeah.
so there's just been so much welcoming for me, and so that's just made me feel really like good and at home
The
within the community, and I think
way
it's
you
super important.
describe that, those are such beautiful words, and the way you describe
Mhm.
that, I'm 100% of both.
Mhm.
There's a permission slip in there somewhere to say I'm going to dive in both cultures equally without feeling. I'm saying this as just kind of repeating back what you said, and tell me if I'm capturing
Mhm.
this accurately in your experience, that you can dive in both directions without almost feeling like you're betraying one or the other. And now
Yeah.
with this amazing time that we're in, where there's a celebration of these different cultures and differences without being exclusionary, which is
Mhm.
a whole other, conversation and journey about,
Yeah.
like, when I say brown girl founders, it's not like, the perfect example I always give is, I'm like, I like, goldfish. It doesn't mean I hate the dolphins and the sharks. Like,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
exclusionary, but
Mhm.
it's celebrating specific communities that also just need to be propped up.
No,
And
and it's
that's great.
so important. It's so important because like I talk to, most of the women I mentor are young South Asian women founders. I'm also on the board at the South Asian Women's Center and do a lot of charitable work for them. So I think it's really important as like South Asian women that when we sort of reach the peak of our mountain, that we're like reaching and we're pulling other South Asian women up with us because you know, there's room for everybody. And I think when we do that, and it's just so amazing to see the representation. Like, are you just seeing the representation? I
Yes.
feel like it's becoming
Yeah.
more and more, and it just makes me so proud.
Same.
And so I think like what you're doing is really great, and I think we just need more of it. I think it's just going
Thanks.
to make things so much better.
Thank you. And just the two organizations that just what you've listed, we need to have a sidebar conversation because I
Yes.
want to know what you're doing. I want to
Yeah.
find out more. And this is it. It's the sharing of information to just amplify everything. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
I'm lucky. I get to have continued conversations with you, and I want to have like so many more conversations with everything you're doing. You're
Same.
just
Me
really
too.
so fantastic.
I need to interview you next time.
I mean, we could do that maybe. How about both of us in Miami at the same time?
Okay, that sounds
let's
good.
plan something like that.
We'll set a date.
We'll set a date. Thank you so much for your time. Have an amazing, productive, and relaxing.
And hopefully you don't have to do any
entrepreneurs
shoveling.
Relax, right? Like we can do that once in a while.
Yeah, we're gonna relax. Yeah. We're gonna relax.
Do that and have an amazing weekend too.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.